What is up, Chop Shop gang? I'm going to break down Jalen Green's game one and game two just to show the contrast between how he played in the first game and how he played in the second game. As we know, he had came out and said after the first game that he had some jitters, and you could tell in the second game that he definitely played a lot better. You know what I mean? But there were some tactical things that the Warriors also did and the Rockets adjusted to in order for him to play better. And these are things that we've talked about pretty much throughout the year, right? Pretty much throughout the year. Getting him and Şengün in two-man action, getting him downhill in the pick and roll, having proper spacing around him. At the end of the day, the first game really was him just not playing good, I think because, it's the first game of the playoffs. Also, the Warriors, in my opinion, they made some defensive adjustments that were to their detriment, and it kind of cost them. I'll talk about it in the breakdown a little bit more, but overall, taking Draymond Green off of Alperen Şengün and putting him as an off-ball roamer and putting, Jimmy Butler to start the game on Şengün was a big mistake in my opinion. Because you think about it, a lot of the drives that Jalen tried to attempt in the first game when he did get in pick and roll, Draymond was the screen defender for the big man, and that is one of the best screen defenders in the NBA. So that's a huge difference in going against post or even Jimmy. I get what the Warriors were trying to do. In theory, they were trying to put anticipate the switches. They wanted Jalen to play in isolation. They forced the issue in isolation. And if you're not doing good in isolation, then it's going to cause issues in isolation. And that was the issue with a nervous first-time young guard playing in the playoffs for the first time, going against a loaded defense that is sold out on stopping him getting in the paint. That really was a problem. In the second game, the Rockets really adjusted to that. The combination of getting more into the pick and roll action and getting out of so many ISOs, and then with the Warriors taking Draymond to try to protect him from getting in foul trouble with Şengün, at the same time pre-switching some of the Jimmy Butler, and this is where the Jimmy injury hurts them, is that they wanted Jimmy to be on Şengün so he could put up a little fight in the post and also be able to switch out on the defender. You switch that position out, and you're putting guys like Kuminga, post, just randos from the Warriors bench to guard Şengün. Then the Rockets did the right thing, putting them in a two-man action, pick and roll, pick your poison. And that's really what showed up. But that at the end of the day, it really came down to just adjustments, getting JG moving, and it really shows up on the film. I haven't done one of these in a while, so y'all check it out and let me know what you think. We'll talk about it on the back end. Tap in. The Rockets Chop Shop is your one-stop shop for all your basketball needs, for highlights, analysis, podcasts. We do it all here at the Rockets Chop Shop. Make sure you hit the like button on the videos that you watch if you enjoy them. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications from all the great drops that we have on the channel. Also, you can visit the Chop Shop merch store and get you some of the swaggiest gear in the Houston Rockets kingdom. And if you want, you can always support the channel directly through donations. And if you want, you can support us through our partnerships with our sponsors. The Rockets Chop Shop is made by fans, for fans, and we're gonna keep rocking and keep dropping that heat.
This is something I know.
We'll start off with the first play on in game one. You have here, we are getting the ball. This is Jalen's first shot attempt. Moody guarding him, Draymond in a deep drop. That's a pretty much drop coverage there. Alp's coming over to set the screen for Jalen, and Jalen elects to reject the screen. Usually when you reject the screen, you kind of want to reject it into an area of space where you could attack, where either the big is on the opposite side of the screener, anticipating where you're going to be, or the defender that's guarding you is overplaying their hand and trying to anticipate that you're going over the screen. But if you look at it here, both Moody and Draymond are in the space where Jalen is rejecting into. So this ties into his comment about him having jitters and not reading the game properly. These are the little things that you want to that you will see. You know, when you're a ball handler, you got to read the game in real time. So he rejects it into help, and then you look at this alignment here. His right shoulder is covered by Moody, so he really can't go anywhere there. Draymond is covering the middle, and he's an elite defender. Look at Draymond's feet. They're set with his help on Moody, and then you have Butler flanking Draymond. So they're going to funnel him into Draymond Green. And keep this in mind as you're watching this breakdown of who's guarding the drops, who's the screen defender as the big position, because you will look at a difference between Draymond and everybody else. And I think that has a lot to do with how he struggled. And then he attacks Draymond, who's, you know, obviously he might not be the defense player of the year, but he is one of the best defenders in the league, and we see the results there. Alp gets a putback. All right, second possession here that we're going to look at. This is one of the plays where Steph Curry is isolating on him, and I want you guys to just watch. Once again, jitters, reading the game, all of this little stuff in the playoffs, this stuff matters. You know, able to try to break free from Steph. Steph is doing a good job just, you know, keeping his base and moving his feet. Jalen not really having a head of steam. His handles are good, but they're not great when the defenders are already set, and Steph knows he has help. So at this point, Jalen gets himself in trouble and gets into a crowded paint. And I want you to look at his teammates here. Look at the team, right? When he gets in the paint here, this is where the passing could improve. Look at Dylan and look at Fred. You have a man there occupying Moody, Şengün there, and you have what's his name? Pods has to respect Şengün. He's almost you know, not really a stunt. This is almost like he is tagging Şengün on a pick and roll, because he has to come off of Dylan in the corner, and Jalen has to see this and make the game easier on himself. Right now, Steph fouled the hell out of him, but make that pass, and that's, you know, that you got to make those passes. That's a 3 for your teammate. And the Warriors are banking on this, but the contrast between how he played in game 1 and 2, I just want you guys to keep in mind at these shot attempts and how the Warriors are playing him as we go forward. The next play here, he has a really good defender in GP2 on him, playing him tough, a lot of ball pressure there, and Jalen uses his first step here, sizes him up and attacks downhill, able to bend the corner, which is what you want. At this point, you have the Warriors dead to rights, because you have Draymond in a conundrum between Tari Eason and guarding the basket. You have Steven Adams there with post, and Steph as the only 2 people around him. You guys remember my last video about gravity. And so Steven is there. You can even try to pass to Steven. You also have Fred in the slot, wing area, and Dylan in the corner. He makes a hell of a shot here. Make the game easier, bro. Make the game. This is why Jalen's special. Did get fouled. Once again, the whistle on him is trash. That's a foul by post right there. That's a tough shot. That's a tough shot. I would have had him either dump it off to Adams and let that be Steph's problem, or kick it out to Fred or even Dylan if you think Moody's going to make that pass. So these are the little things that you want him to improve on, but that's a hell of a shot he made there. But the game can be a lot easier for him if he just takes what basketball is giving him, and we'll see that in game 2. Here's a play where, once again, Steph, the Warriors elected to just isolate Jalen here, and I want you to notice, depending on who's in the game for the Warriors, they really do play different defenses. With Draymond, it's a little different. Here, it's just straight up mano a mano isolation. He's able to get downhill and win the one-on-one with Steph. Looney does a great job contesting late, right? And Jalen actually beats Looney, once again, just in his head. Just got to make this layup. So you got to believe the player when they tell you that you know, he had the jitters. I see a lot of people saying it was because of this, it was because of that. Nah, he was nervous, and he just had to get the feeling of the first game out. And I think it made a huge impact on how he processed the game. But able to get downhill, and I want you guys to notice in this clip as well, he's starting way further back than out of bounds. This is where I like him. If he's gonna ISO, I don't want him to dribble from a stationary position. Back it up as far as out as you can, like Russ does. Y'all see John Morant do this all the time, where he resets, goes back out, then hits that little high dribble and gets running downhill and tries to hit you with a pivot or try to make you flip your hips. And that's what Jalen needs to do more often. But he could have still made that play. Okay, I want you guys to take note of this play right here. So the Rockets are already down big. This is a play that we were going to see in game 2, right? Just a high screen. And I love that they're doing it this far out. Once again, it's the same principles as I was talking about when he's in isolation. When he's up closer to the line, the screens, he doesn't have enough steam because he's not really that big or strong enough to just bend a dude's shoulders to get downhill. So I prefer him getting these early screens while he's bringing the ball up, because he can use his speed as an advantage. The reason I want you guys to take note of this play is, once again, look who's guarding Jalen in this play as the screen defender, Draymond Green. And this becomes much more apparent in game 2, where the Warriors, in my opinion, made a tactical mistake, taking Draymond off of Şengün for foul trouble issues and whatnot, and then put other defenders on there. But when it's Draymond is really good he's a really good defender, right? Şengün gives a great screen to Moody. Jalen is butt-ass wide open right here, right? All that space. This is ideally what you want. He does everything I say, gets Draymond to flip his hips. So Draymond is cooked at this point, but this is what makes Draymond Green elite, is the ability to change hips with the runner, twice actually. So he rolls with him, fouls him, right? They're not going to call it though, not on the Warriors, and then times up the jump and forces a really bad shot by Jalen here. And to me, there's not much. Draymond's a good defender. He's a good defender. You expect, if they had 10 battles, I would probably say Draymond probably win 6 or 7 of them. But when you look at how they're guarding him in game 2, peep the hips, peep the footwork of the defender compared to Draymond Green, and you're going to see just a wide contrast. But the screens were there, right? The screens were there, right? He had good screens, and at this point, it's just it's a mixture of the jitters and also the defensive assignment and alignment of the Warriors compared to what they did in game 2. All right, I don't know why this play pissed me off so much for multiple reasons, both for the Rockets and the Warriors. So this is we're in double big right now, and JG has the ball, bringing it up, right? GP2 guarding him, has a good angle, right? GP2 opens the floodgates and he attacks rightly, right? Draymond peels off, comes off to contest, and I want you guys to notice what Dre does. While he's so good at timing and contest, he doesn't just lunge into players. He's gonna feel you out and put his hand on your body to feel when you're gonna jump, and then get straight up while he's in your body. The reason this pisses me off is, one, Draymond's fouling the hell out of Jalen. That's a foul, multiple fouls, 3-4 fouls on Draymond, right? That's a foul. Hell, GP2 fouls him prior to. The second thing is, on the Rockets side, one, JG passed the ball out, right? Look at how many people, you got 4 feet in the paint, damn near 5 with Steph standing right there. But the thing that pisses me off about this is the Rockets, their spacing is so terrible here. Why is Steven Adams, Şengün, why is Jabari cutting in? And because he's the only shooter that's available for Jalen. And you know what I mean? And the only other person that's spacing is Amen Thompson. This is not smart. This is not smart basketball, right? And email Doug, this is a terrorist lineup if you're going to want JG to get paint touches, right? But Jalen got to pass the ball. But if he knows that there's no spacers out there and Jabari is coming in to the paint, everybody's in the paint, Amen is the only one out there. This tells me the Rockets aren't prepared for these types of plays where they want to space, feed in the paint, kick out, drive and kick. It's just kind of going with the flow. I'm not going to blame the coaches on this. Maybe it's the players, or maybe it's the personnel. They want them to crash the glass. I'm not sure. But this is nasty work by the Rockets, just spacing wise. But Jalen can't get off scot-free here too. I would still look to pass it. You know what I mean? Throw it to Barry right now. There's literally 5 guys on you. So it's just little things. I think the jitters was real for everybody in this game. But oh my God, look at the fouls though. It's just nasty. Okay, I want you guys to see the difference in spacing for Jalen when it's not the double bigs and the men. That's why I know the double bigs lineup wins a lot. I think that you still have to be smart in the play sets. You run out of it. To me, if you're going to go double big, it should be focused on inside out with Şengün, Adams, and then having the guards and the wings kind of run off of that. Because drive and kick when nobody's outlet is really bad. But look at this. Jalen bringing up the ball against Moses Moody, a pretty bad defender. He's decent, but he's not good as a elite defender. And look at the spacing in the paint. Even though that Amen is out there, you can live with that because he's a good cutter. If Jimmy was to overcommit right now, Amen could cut. Right? He can cut behind him and get a lob. So Jimmy has to keep his mind there, even though there's really nobody guarding Şengün right here. And it's just one-on-one. But Moody gets beat so bad, it just becomes a one-on-one Dre and JG. And Draymond does a great job staying straight up. I know he gets a lot of flack, but that's perfect defense right there. This is where athleticism, God-given, comes in, able to convert that. So as the game went along, even though this is the fourth quarter, pretty much the last, the game is pretty much over, Jalen got more comfortable. And you got to see he settled down a little bit and got into the game. And to me, this was a foreshadowing of game 2. All right, now we're in game 2. Contrast, difference. What a difference a game makes, right? Got a good night of sleep, 2 good nights of sleep because we had 2 nights off. and the guys watch film. He may talk to them. They went over with some of their position coaches, got a little practice in, and this is what you want to see from a young team and a young star guard like Jalen. First shot attempt for him, similar situation as game one. Key differences though, right? Let's point them out. Difference number one, Jimmy Butler has now replaced Draymond Green, right, as the Şengün defender. I spoke to this earlier. The Warriors made a tactical mistake, in my opinion, in this game, and by putting Draymond off ball, right? And I think they did that to keep him out of foul trouble with Şengün. He's valuable to their team on both offense and defense. So you put somebody else on Şengün and allow Draymond to roam. To me, this was unnecessary and an unnecessary adjustment by Steve Kerr because, I mean, they won the first game, holding us to 85 points. So this was not a coincidence, in my opinion, why the Warriors struggled a little bit to guard Jalen Green in this game. It's really Draymond's the key there. Right. And number two, Jalen did not have jitters in this game. Like he said himself, he was just comfortable, right? He's able to process now. His brain is back, right? The first game CTE is over. And then let's watch it. First, he does not reject the screen, right? Doesn't reject the screen. Jimmy's in a similar position as Draymond was, where he is using the out of bounds as help. He knows that Pods and Draymond are there to help him on the weak side there in case Jalen goes there. And Şengün sets a good screen. And even though Moody does a great job trying to fight around it, Jimmy Butler is not used to guarding the pick and roll as the big man, right? He's playing the big man defender, and he's gonna play it in a shallow drop, semi-regular drop with the fear of Jalen's driving ability. Because when you watch on film, if I'm a Warriors player, oh yeah, this kid wants to drive. So what Jalen does, reads that, right? This dude is not a big man. He can't contest me because he's not that tall. And Moody is trailing real bad. Şengün is open, but I like this shot, right? If they're gonna play a drop, kill him. Just to let him know what's up in the first shot. That's a bucket. That's what you want to see. So to me, the Warriors really kind of screwed themselves in this game as well. Okay, here's where you guys are going to see the real impact of this game plan to take Draymond off of Şengün or off the big and put Jimmy to guard him. They used the post kid. They were using everybody but Draymond, right? Because they knew Şengün dropped damn near 30 on Draymond. Draymond can't guard him one-on-one despite his pride and ego, and Steve Kerr, knowing that they need to double Şengün, did the second best thing is just take Draymond off his primary assignment. Once again, same thing. And I love that they're sticking to the game plan. Great screen by Şengün there. Now watch. Remember what I told you about the feet and the hips of the drop defender? Look at Post. Post is a rookie, right? I didn't even know this dude existed prior to this, right? One, he's overcommitted. There's a space between where he's trying to funnel JG into and JG having a clear shot at the basket. He's out of position, off balance compared to a Draymond who knows exactly what he wants to do, right? So he tries to recover, and look at what Jalen does. This is what the guards, when they're attacking a big, flip their hips, and he's done, dead to rights. If that was Draymond would just flip his hips with Jalen, use his hand like a cornerback or a defensive back in football, and ride him on out, pause, with feeling his momentum and know where to contest. Post is done. He's literally looking back as Jalen goes to the rim, and then the only defender there to help is Jimmy Butler, which is negligent, and that equals a dunk. So the Warriors shot themselves in the foot. You have a terrible drop defender in post and good screens by Şengün and Adams throughout this game, and you'll see the impact on Jalen Green. I think the jitters were just gone. He read the game really beautifully throughout game two. Okay, on this play, not a great screen, in my opinion, not a great screen. I think the angle is a little bit off. I would angle a little bit better. But he tries to get around, but he's just not a good defender. You have Looney out of position. Jalen sees a path to the basket, but he tries to overcompensate for it and gets cooked with this. This is just a nasty move. Look how much space he creates with that coming off of that screen. And once he's in rhythm and he's processing and he's seeing the game, these type of shots, I mean, this is a wide open three. He's on balance. Compare that to the ones we saw earlier where the defender is riding his grill. And yeah, I mean, you should beat all these defenders. For us to win, Jalen has to win the matchups he's supposed to win, right? If it's GP2, yeah, we understand. You can go 50-50 for that. If it's Draymond at the rim, you can go 50-50, 60-40 on that. But if it's Steph, Buddy, Pods, like those should be 80% wins for him. The space created, he gets a practice shot. That's buckets. Swish. Once again, post is going to be the Şengün defender here, and they have Draymond off ball. To me, this was something the Rockets picked on, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Look at post in a drop. He is not used to playing at this level. He's not used to playing against athletes like Jalen or big men like Şengün. Wants a bad defender, trying to trail Jalen and Moody. Şengün does a decent job getting a good screen on there to kind of knock Moody off his path. Jalen has post depth to rights. He could do whatever he wants here. Draymond does kind of stunt to show the basket, gives him a good, good jab step in. That's a good shot. Even though Steph is there trying to contest, that's a good shot. If that's a shot that I hope he can master. I don't expect this to become something that he does at a high level this year in his first playoffs, but these are the mid-range shot is the shot that really he has to have to close out games, because a lot of teams are going to fight to take away the three. I don't want to live on Jalen's threes, right? You want to live on a steady diet of things that are always there. And with his speed and his ability to get to the rim and his ability to stretch the floor as a three-point shooter, the mid-range area is always going to be open for him. If he ever develops a consistent mid-range shot, then I mean that's it becomes really hard, almost impossible to guard him. That's the excitement with Jalen, because he's only 23, right? So you can work on that if you're a coach. If you're a development specialist, you can work on that. And what does that look like when he's 28 years old, right? You can't tell me people don't get better at their job. So yeah, that's just a good shot. I like to see more of that. I think the Warriors are going to force more of that out of him as the series goes along. Here's a play I like. You get, I think this is, that's Şengün is out the game here, so Jabari becomes a screener. Little fake horns action, kind of lazy horns right there between Fred and Bari. Goes to the Jabari side for the screen, which has post again as the big defender, or the screen, the five defender, I guess, guarding the screener. Jabari does a great screen here. Shout out to him on Kuminga, and Jalen gets Palika post feet. My God, he's already ready to turn his ankle. There should be no world where, as a defender, you should be in this position in the NBA guarding a pick and roll. So he's already cooked. And all you got to do is hit him with that. His feet are all over the place. He does a great job recovering. Actually, does a pretty good defensive job here, but Jalen just makes a hell of a shot with athleticism, able to hit it off the glass there. This was a big shot, a good shot. I love it. You love to see it. Love the spacing here between Fred, Bari. You can see that Draymond is probably getting tired. I'm not sure, because he's not as aggressive, or maybe he thinks Jalen's going to miss this shot. But to me, the spacing does matter. And I would take this matchup against Post 100 out of 100 times. Like, go get him, bro. So anytime I see, what number is he? Anytime I see 21, whatever it says on his jersey, I'm going for it. So yeah, tough shot, tough bucket. Okay, here's my favorite play of the game. And this is the last clip we're going to look at, right? This is what got real popular in the NBA a few years ago. This is that zoom action, right? And you know what the zoom action is? You're going to get a wing or a player, a ball handler, a wing, whatever, coming. You put your guy you want the ball in the corner. Let me just make it simple. You put your guy you want the ball in the corner. You get a guard or a wing to come and set a screen for him. He runs off that screen and goes into a DHO with your five. And then from there, you can go downhill, you can shoot. Jalen elects to shoot here. I love this play for multiple reasons. Number one, it really mitigates the lack of, if you don't have a great ball handler, it really mitigates some of that issues, right? If you're guys, so this is, you could see a lot of zoom action for players that are just like movement shooters. And also it allows the decisions that are made are kind of predetermined by the offense, right? I think the Rockets could do a lot more of these type of stuff to try to make it easier on their players, instead of relying on Jalen or a man to try to break down the Warriors defense on the move going downhill. As Jalen comes off the screen, Kuminga has to navigate the screen, right? And working with curly hair over there, I don't even know his name. I'm not going to hold y'all. You get that DHO. Look how far back Kuminga is trying to trail this. And then Looney, because Şengün is such an offensive threat, between him and Kuminga, he has to be honest to know, are we going to switch this? Am I going to show up on Jalen? And that little hesitation between Şengün screening, Looney doesn't know whether he wants to switch it or help. Look, they're stuck. No man's land. What that does, Jalen reads this perfectly. Bang, three-pointer. Good three, in rhythm, on the move. That's a beautiful play. I wish they ran more of it. It just makes things a lot easier, makes the offense a lot smoother. Maybe they will. Maybe they will as guys get a little more mature. So the implications for the Rockets, in my opinion, it's really going to come down to how the Warriors adjust. As we go into game 3, That's what you guys should be watching for. What do the Warriors do to counter what we just watched on film? I know they saw that on film, right? Because you're putting a lot of guys on an island against the speed and athleticism and ability to get to the basket of Jalen Green. As good as Draymond is, he can't cover all that ground. You have to pick your poison. And I think what my intuition tells me is that they are going to make the adjustment. They're going to put Draymond back on Şengün, but watch out for that, right? If Jimmy plays, they might still try to execute that plan. I think what they're banking on is in the aggregate with Jimmy on Jalen long-term, he doesn't make a lot of those shots, right? He doesn't get those step backs. He doesn't create the space on the step backs. He doesn't get to the rim as much. And then Draymond is free to roam about, help on defense, be able to stay out of foul trouble, and at the same time, be a disruptor everywhere else on the court. So that's what they want to do. So they haven't really got to do that yet. So if Jimmy does play, they might just stick with that plan. And I think if I'm the Rockets, I stick with my game plan as well. Keep attacking. Keep getting downhill, right? Keep doing what I have to do. Get JG moving. Get Şengün in the pocket where he can get those pocket passes. If they elect to trap, that's another view that you may see that they did a lot more in game one than in game two is trap Jalen, right? Try to force him to get the ball out of his hands. You do that, then you get on 4-on-3 situations, which is advantageous for the Rockets. We'll see if they do that as well. Another thing that you have to look out for is just them just focusing on forcing everybody else to make a shot, right? Everybody else to hit threes. So the Rockets have to be prepared. This is the cat and mouse that you love about the playoffs, right? Who's going to be the one to make the adjustments, to counter the adjustments? And this is how it's going to go on as the playoffs go along. When they want to take away Alperen Şengün, they're going to do that, right? They're going to send help. They're going to send a double and then force everybody else to beat them. But you can't do that and still keep, Jalen from getting his. When you want to take away Jalen, then you open up Alperen Şengün. This is the two-man dynamic. When I made that video of the Powell and Kobe comparison of these two, I didn't say they were good as Powell and Kobe. I was talking about stylistically, right? In the modern NBA, I haven't seen a combination of skill at the big position and uber 99th percentile athleticism at the guard position between Jalen and Şengün. You've had super athletic guards that are way better than Jalen Green. I'm not saying that, right? Since Kobe, right? You've had the, Russ and Wade and D Rose. They've been there, but they've never been paired with a big as skilled as Şengün, right? Russ never had a big like that. As good as Steven Adams is, he's not like that. As good as Boozer or whoever the hell Derrick Rose was paired up with, Joakim Noah, he's not like that, right? None of these guys had that ability to have a big man that is just a dynamic passer, can create and score. Even the James Harden and Embiid two-man dynamic, James is not. And the other side of that dynamic is the uber athletic guard. You're right. So that combination of uber athleticism and high-level talent with a skilled big man that's really, really good, can score and defend, it's rare. This is what you see. And this is why I think that you cannot, if you're the Houston Rockets, move off of that pairing. I don't give a damn who's available. You can add good players to that, but that pairing has so much potential. They're 22 and 23. What does that look like at 27 and 28? What does that look like at 29 and 30? If they make it to their third contract or second contract, whatever it is, 29-year-old Şengün in his peak of his prime and Jalen Green at 30, who's seen everything in the world, who's seen every defense, who's seen every junk defense, everything they could throw at him, been in wars. They've both seen everything. It becomes intuition. If you remember from that video, the eye movements, the things that Powell and Kobe used to do. And they were up in age when that happened, right? That was on the second stretch of Kobe's championship run when he was in his 30s. And I think Powell was either 30 or 29, whatever he was. So these are the things that I think about when I think about these kids and how they developed, and everybody else playing off of that. That's where you get that two-man dynamic that I compared them to. But it's going to be a cat and mouse game for the Warriors. I did not want this matchup, but I'm kind of glad that we got this matchup because in this matchup, it pushes everybody to their extreme. It pushes Udoka to be at his best, and it pushes Jalen, Şengün, Amen, Jabari, Tari, Fred, Dale, all the players on the Rockets. Every single play matters. Every game has so much gravity that it just makes them have to learn so fast. These are the things that you cannot replicate in the regular season. That's why I was so disappointed we didn't make the playoffs last year, right? Proud of the effort they did, but you can't simulate this. You can't fake this. This experience, even if they lose this series, you cannot fake this. You cannot This is not something you could simulate in a regular season game. These playoffs, the checks. I bet you in the next game, the Warriors are going to make sure Jalen's not dropping 38, right? But then what do we do to counter that? This is how it moves. And then at the end of the series, whatever happens, as a player, you can do a self-assessment of yourself. Be like, what do I need to get better? What did I learn? How can I improve on this? What did I see? And how do I take that into my game? And how does that help me go forward in my career? And imagine doing this 2 years, 3 years. That's why it's okay to knock on the door and not get an answer. I'm talking about winning chips, right? Yeah, every team doesn't have to win a championship. It's a journey for them to get there. This is just step one. They're just on the mantle right now. They're on the pedestal to step up to that high stage, and it'll come. It'll come. I hope we go, second round, third round this year. Hell, if we even make it to the finals. None of that matters to me. What they're learning in these games is what matters, because that's what's going to set them up for the future. That is all. If you guys are new to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Keep rocking with the Chop Shop. I'm going to keep dropping that.